Hey, how's it going? It's 11:24 a.m. at July 22nd, Saturday. Ooh, I forgot to give water to my birds. I'm currently kind of I was doing wiring on my room. I'm gonna try to hook up the external hard drives up there. Haven't done that yet, and maybe even start to get backing up, going on. That'll be fun. Get that started. Um, and maybe if I can before I go, I wanted to do my video first while I still have energy because I have to go and bale hay. I was gonna do it at 11 today, but they had to postpone it because I guess there's a bike race or triathlon up at the Boulder Reservoir, and so the truck couldn't get there. So I can ride my bike out there. I guess at 1, get there at 1:30, and it'll be a good warm up for getting in shape. I'm starting to get fired up for it because uh, physical fitness is getting mainstream these days, and with digital cameras, you can take all the photos with the Instagram, the photos, and the OnlyFans, and the YouTube, and the augmenting, the freaking photo augmenting. I have Photoshop. Oh man, yeah, and I have a great studio, dude, with super bright lights, and yeah, I'm gonna grow my hair out because I'm not gonna be hanging out with my mom. And my mom insists that I keep my hair short all the time, so now I'm gonna grow my hair out, so it'll be fun. So yeah, I figured today video I wanted to just talk about what I do, because I after I did my video yesterday, I was like fumbling over myself, trying to describe like my vision for the world or whatever, but it's kind of unfair to myself to focus on that because that's not even what I spend my time doing. That's what I want to do and write about when I'm done doing what I'm doing. Because I've been spent so much time doing what I'm doing. I'm just a machine. I'm like a factory, and so I've kind of got my hands tied behind my back to actually do real writing. And so let me just say what I do, what I have on my website. So let's start with the timeline. Everything on my website is based off of Wikipedia lists. And so, so I got, all the lists of like all the kingdoms or, whatever that you have it on my timeline. So I have a timeline that has everything that ever existed on two different styles. It has the regular, what you would expect timeline that goes across, but then I have the vertical part of it with 5 columns, and so you would click on each thing going across, and all the different categories, and they're represented by icons. So you have a thing that goes across with 20 pixel icons, battles, war, inventions, kings, all organized with the kingdoms and inside of kingdoms the modeled after the United Nations. And so that is worked, with the regions and subregions. There's 16 subregions, and so that acts as a visualizer to compare the same part of the world at the same time through different parts of the world, and then to jump around history through time and then throughout location, and also as a test. You can use it as a test to display. I forgot to talk about that. There's lots of different tests. You could do the biweekly history test where you do the random number generator asks you what you think about different decades, and then you answer. Or you could do a book review, or you could do the fill in the blank of the timeline, or guess what goes on. So that's kind of like the most time consuming because it's connects to the Google Earth. That's the other thing is I Google Earth everything in the world, every single village, town that ever existed, and so then I Google Earth the exact size of the wall, and actually all of the walls. As they grow, they get different walls, and then I even built in the town, the buildings, and they even with the city. Yeah, the tribes of the Celts that Julius Caesar fought. I think there's like 65, 68 of them. In France, I did zoom ins and panoramas and zoom out, and also trips between the different capital cities that they have that exist. About that existed then, with the size of the wall, and then a flyby across as though it's a modern day bike ride. Like how long it is in terms of miles. And speaking of that, also every single like historical book I Google Earth. So like with Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, every single thing that he mentioned is Google Earth as a Google Earth file. So if he says on day 16 we hiked 25 miles, I will write where they left, exactly where they camped, the road that they went up, if you want to modern day write it, and then where they stopped, and for every single day that they marched, and if they built the wall, exactly where the wall was, and their fort, and even rebuilt some of the forts, because then they felt there's modern day, there's like historical forts where they that were built on where they were, and so yeah, Googled Earth all of Rome. I'm gonna do the city of Rome for every single year for all of the history of Rome, and you can see that right now. And you click it, and it takes you to it. So as you grow for the houses now, this is for the city of Rome, including the countryside of Rome, because whenever Rome did a census, they were doing the census of the, at least in the early days. They were doing the census of the city and the surrounding areas. And there's also another thing that I'm working on is Google Earthing the city of Rome even before Rome, because I do 1,000 years, 753 BC until like 1,000 AD, so 1,300 years. But I also do, and the reason I went all the way to 1,000 is because that's when it got the smallest, and so it'd be interesting to look at it when it only has 20,000 people. But I even did Rome before that, all the way up until caveman times, and even try to maybe contiguously all the way up through ice ages and caveman times and the dawn of humanity. But yeah, I mean, I did pre-Rome, like with Stone Ages even, because they did extensive archaeology in the area, and so they know exactly how big and how frequent the villages were in the Stone Ages in that area. So I think that's pretty cool. So I even got the maps out and wrote exactly where they were, and so that I wanted to Google Earth Rome at the beginning of the Roman Kingdom when it was only 20 kilometers across. Recreate it exactly, so like to all of the farms, because I don't think people realize how developed it actually was. Like they Malthusian, I actually mentioned that yesterday. They Malthusianized 750 BC. They were already, well, not that early, but like 400 BC. They were already Malthusianized, meaning if you were to look at like a kingdom 20 kilometers across of Rome, every single square meter of that area was spoken for. It was like either a farm or a road, or a stable, So same thing with Athens. So so to actually recreate that to a T, it would be amazing, because then you could turn that into a show, a movie, with the backdrop, And so that's what I'm working on. All this stuff I'm like halfway through. I'm like everything all at once. I did Hadrian's Wall, almost done with that, to the exact recreation. I even think the one north of that, Aurelian, the Antoninian Wall or whatever, all of the villages in Italy, 1300, and then there's another book about the farms of Italy that I'm going to recreate on Rome. All of ancient Greece, all the exact number of towns in the Roman Empire in Spain and France. Spain had about 1,600, France like 1,300, Italy like 1,300. And all the battles from history, all on Google Earth. And then I did the Vicarious 11 stuff. I recreated Rome on top of Boulder. And then I recreated Boulder itself from all throughout all of history on Google Earth. And then when I recreated Rome on top of Boulder, not just the city of Rome, but the Republic and the Kingdom and the Empire, and even with all of the different tribes and everything, to kind of even overlap modern day counties. I also covered all that front range from northern. It's I think like 180 kilometer diameter from northern um, Fort Collins to southern Denver, all the way out to eastern Denver, and all the way up into the mountains of the foothills, deep in the foothills. I think all the way up to the Continental Divide. Covered everything man-made with the nature of the area. So when you look at it, and you can download it all right now. I already made it. I still haven't had a single person ever say that they saw anything that I made on Google Earth, which is really weird. But anyway, it's so yeah, I plugged it up. So when you look at it, it looks just like it would look if there was no civilization. It doesn't look like it would look, a couple hundred years ago because it was so dry and brown. So now I have it kind of more like green, but yeah, it's good. And also all of the trails, all the roads and trails on Google Earth in that exact area. So you could then superimpose those on top of the nature, and so that's how you can create Boulder Rome on top of that. Create a complete different world on this area here to examine on Google Earth. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, and I with the history of Boulder, and I already did all of this pretty much. I just have to do the tie-ups now, and like on the Google Earth pages, I have to make the links, and I don't think I really got around to do that and make the links between the pages. I really don't have that much work to do. And then oh yeah, so then I have to tie in history with modern day to preserve the athleticness of it. To keep people athletic and so we can simulate our minds and bodies. I brought everything from history. So historically, we did rowing. So I have historical rowing trips, how many miles they did, and then to compare how strong they were. But then I have a rowing page with all the different rowing strengths of all the different ages with both sexes, and from the World Championship, from the 2K. Oh, and not just 2K, all the different distances on the erg machine. And then I would do the same thing with the swim machine, but they don't have that. And then, for bicycling, bike racing, for all the different levels, the time trials, really detailed. And for time trial and then levels, to compare it all, to explain it scientifically, which I haven't done yet. But because I think one thing that people should do, get really proficient at from here on in, is scientifically prove, what they know, things like, quote stuff to the source, because I heard Randall Carlson, Joe Rogan's friend, he was talking about like a guy talking about like ancient Atlantis or whatever, but he quoted a book. But he quoted a book that was written like 100 years ago, who was quoting a Roman author who was quoting some other ancient Greek authors. It would have been better to quote the Roman author who was already quoting the Greek authors, instead of quote the guy who made the compilation in the 2000s. But like, people do that too much, it's so easy to look into the past. And so, which brings me to the historical books. I put all the different historical books on my website in the entirety, because there's no place on the internet that has the entire historical book on one page, which gives you lots of advantages because you can do Control F word searches, and also which you want to do to know to find locations of what you're looking for. And also I also have titled all the different chapters, which nobody else does, which I'm in the process of doing now, because I have to create the titles myself, like with the blink list. And also you can hit Control, F. You can like highlight the entire book in Control F and listen to the whole thing all at once, without any extra like extraneous, numbers that get called up because from like references to the bottom. And so it's designed to be read to you, and not read like captions for images. That's all from like connected. But there are images along the side on Flickr, but it just doesn't read that. And so it's designed perfectly to read to you on the cell phone and on the computer. And I have like all the important books in history that way. I think, eventually I'll put them all up, and I have most of them up now. And then I also have, for audio learning, all the different books you can get on Kindle and LibriVox, connected all on one page on my website, divided between all the different countries. So, and also divided from period how long it takes to read it, so that you can match trying to complete an entire book with a day, like a bike ride you're going to do in a day, and try to have it be finished like right as you're coming in the house. You know, that get in the habit of doing that, yeah, I have English teaching page, and then I have the science list, because that's another way to test and to display your knowledge, is just to try to remember, and it's from Wikipedia. Try to remember the list of all the things and then define all of them. Imagine if you could do that. That'd be fun. I mean, in fact, I think everybody should do that, even if you get your ass kicked at it. So I'm going to use that as my YouTube stuff. Oh, and then I have my, I have the page describing how the biweekly history test works, and the blow to Rome, and all this stuff I'm saying. I have it all described in detail on my site, and I'm most of the way through. My timeline also goes into the future, which I'd like to eventually fill in for the future. And then I have personal stuff too. I think everybody should have as much personal stuff that they share to get in the habit of that. So I have all school papers and journals and all that kind of stuff that I'll eventually try to polish. But I also have a lineage of my family that I got from the internet, and I want to eventually finish that and make it a really presented with having put it all on one page, but have it all linkable. And so I have a philosophy on the website where it's all multi-layered in detail. It functions very similar to physically with Google Earth. If you're zooming in 30,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 3,000 feet, 200 feet, 10 feet. Because I also actually have a page of the different various size dimensions, and I compare them with different types of countries and polities and areas that you would be able to travel around for trade and riding on a bike, and in the past on a horse and stuff. And so I try to do that with time. I also have a space, a power of 10 page, which goes from the bottom, from the electron all the way to the universe. And I'm going to do that for time as well. I haven't started it yet, but from 16 minutes, 40 seconds down to 1 milliliter or millisecond with different, I think 12 different time dimensions. But then I'm going to do one for the ocean, which I haven't started yet. This is just ideas I had recently. We have the boat on the top, and then on the page it shows everything in size and where everything is down on the bottom on Wikipedia. On my website. Make it with a website with Dreamweaver. Because I didn't find a single chart on the internet like that. But anyway, what was I saying? The stuff that I already have. Well, I also have a fantasy, bike racer level, Google Earth stuff that I made that incorporates all of that, like a fantasy world that's like ancient Rome that was brought in. And also I have I did Atlantis. I rebuilt Atlantis, not just the city to a T, to the square meter, just like I did with Rome. I did Rome to the square meter in the year 213. To the exact person, and based off of a map. And I did the same thing with Atlantis, and then I made movies out of it that you can download on Google Earth. But I also did the exact island, and I brought all of the features that you can see to real life. And so then I also imagined, an Atlantis that didn't sink, so then I made an Exceed 4000 building on it, because that's in the future. It's kind of future imagination you can make to compare the scales of things, and then also my imagination of traveling around just some gliders from the building, and create a fantasy world. I'm also going to incorporate Jetson City and that and different things. But and then also Mountaintopia, where I put every single historical building up in the mountains here to create a fantasy world that there existed, so you can imagine the size of things on the mountains and give you more entertainment when you go up into the mountains, and make it kind of look like a beautiful, trippy place to live up there. And that included every single historical building, including little villages, like Indian villages they found in bedrock from the Flintstones, and Asterix Village, and I put those in Atlantis too. But I even built the atomic bomb, the simulation of the atomic bombs on top of Atlantis, but that got lost. I did the included on all of my history, Canal Network of Ancient Babylon, Canal Network of Ancient China, but I lost that. And then I'd like to maybe eventually do the same thing with Cydonia and Mars, but, and then connect, all the books that I did, put images on all of those and the fonts, and then that are appropriate to whatever the book is talking about. So yeah, it's kind of like that's what I already built already. It's just that I'm not quite done. And so if you dance around, you should be. If you had a brain, you'd notice that I'm onto something, and all I need is about 3 more years, and then I'll be done, and then it'll make money, and all that stuff, and help me make money with whatever, and so and gain attention and be useful and all that kind of stuff, because it's the condensation of knowledge. So I predict, and I'm going to write it on my website, in 100 years, all the websites are basically going to look like my website. That's what I predict. I predict that if you fast forward 100 years, like people will be like, and then the people in 100 years look back to today, then they look at all the websites, and then they come across mine, they'll be like, oh wow, look, there it is. That's a website looks just like our websites. But I don't think they'll have to, because they'll be able to already trace it all along. Because you have to put it, because I'm going to come up with a series of rules and regulations. It's time for rules and regulations for websites. We just don't have them. And if you look at like the CIA World Factbook, they freaking break all the rules. They've got words this big. And so listen, if you want to make a good website, you have to have good density. Okay? So whatever you see on the screen has to have a high word density. Okay? It's basically the same thing as how many watts you can pump out on a bike. Okay? You also have to have the more colors, the better. All the colors. Now, it also obviously has to be symmetrical. And each of the different words you have has to have lots of links. Right? Words, colors, symmetry, links. Whatever number's the highest, and whatever the cumulative number is the highest, is the best website. And that's just how it is, dude. There ain't no beating around the bush. Black and white. And that's why my website's the best. Because it's the numbers. It's got the word density and photo density, colors that mean something, links. What else do you want? Do you want the CIA? Compare the World CIA Factbook website to my World CIA Factbook website and tell me which one's better. Which one would you learn from more? That's an actual question. You're welcome to comment down below. So anyways, I've talked for enough because I have to go to work in like an hour, and I want to maybe do a little bit of work on try to get my hard drive set up by then. So anyways, what I really wanted to do today was just describe what I'm actually already done. The stuff that took time. Like all that stuff that I named takes years. If you're going to do it, actually finish it and polish it. I need 3 more years, but I have done enough to demonstrate that if you allow me to have the time and you don't rob me, that I will actually finish all of that. And when that's all finished, that's a website that's going to somehow make money, and be famous and be a one-of-a-kind type of a website. It's basically Wikipedia volume version 2. How do you say it? Wikipedia 2.0. It's Wikipedia condensed down. It's what the iPhone is to computers is what my website is to Wikipedia. Because if you throw like a regular computer into like a fish tank, there's going to be all these bubbles because it's all these like open spots and spaces and stuff, and not all that symmetrically organized. But an iPhone is just jam-packed, condensed. And that's what my website is. You throw it in, there ain't going to be no bubbles coming out. There's no room for any words or anything in there. It's all boom, boom, boom. And then once you train your mind, it's designed for speed reading. People are like, speed reading. Well, if you're going to have speed reading, you can't be spending all of your time scrolling and looking for the word. No speed reader is going to be happy with the CIA World Factbook website because there's too much scrolling and clicking to the other link. A speed reader is going to want my website where it's all zoof. And you could even hit Control- and make the words a little tiny if you have really good eyesight. So, or have the computer read it to you really fast. So, You know, that's the design of the future. I'm gonna write it on my website. My website is the design of all websites will look in 100 years. I guarantee you. Obviously, I can't prove that because we don't live in the 100 years now. So all I get to be is like the crazy guy, talking to myself. But the people in the future agree with me. That's all I care about. Because I don't only live in the present, there's past, present, and future. It's just a balance. So, anyways, that's enough talking. I'm gonna get focused and try to get some calories on me, so I don't bonk at work. And this will be my first day of exercise. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.